but bold. Execution will be critical for the strategic disinvestment policy unveiled in the budget. The government spending's plans for 2021 to 2022 hinge on better compliance, lifting tax collections, and an ambitious plan to raise non-tax revenue. So we have read several editorials about the budget plans for 2021 to 2022, and in all of those, the government is going to improve much better on the building, on the construction of infrastructures, metro railways, and also on lifting tax collections, and also an ambitious plan means a great hopeful plan to raise non-tax revenue. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced large-scale monetization of government sector assets, including vast tracts of land, and is banking on disinvestment receipts of 1.75 lakh crore rupees. So, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced large-scale monetization of government sector assets. So, our Finance Minister, she has announced or she has declared large-scale monetization of the government sector assets, including vast tracts of land. So all of these things will be all of the things like these examples will be monetized, like large scale monetization of government, like vast tracts of land, and is also banking on disinvestment receipts. And she's also about to take action on the disinvestment receipts of 1.75 lakh crore rupees. So all of that money, it was not invested, and it was left. It was kind of useless until now, and nobody used it. This includes likely inflows from the strategic sale of entitles such as Air India and BPCL, and carried forward from this year's plans. So probably this money of 1.75 lakh crore is from companies like Air India and BPCL, and it must be carried forward from this year's plans. So this year's plan was already made. Even though we can make some amendments and put this money into the plan. The listing of the LIC could be completed as well with necessary amendments in the finance bill, and that alone could bolster the revenue kitty. So the listing of LIC could be completed as well. So as I said, the listing or making the plan of this year's budget, it was already completed, with necessary amendments in the finance bill, and it also had its necessary amendments or necessary changes took place for the implementation of this year's budget plan, and that alone could bolster the revenue kitty. But this new money, again with some amendments in the finance bill, it could bolster the revenue kitty. Means it could give a great support to this year's budget plan. More significant, however, is the new strategic disinvestment policy for public sector enterprises, and the promise to privatize two public sector banks and a general insurance company this year. So most significant means most importantly, however, anyways, the most important thing is the new strategic disinvestment policy. So our government, it came with a new policy, and the name of the policy is this investment policy. So as you can say by the name, it is a policy in which the government, it will be trying to spend as less amount of money as possible, and obviously it is strategic, because if it is not strategic, we would be spending more amounts of money for a better insurance. For public sector enterprises and the promise to privatize two public sector banks general. So this policy was taken up for the public sector, for the public sector, mainly for the enterprises, and also to privatize privatize two public banks. The policy promised as part of Atmanirbhan Bharat package states that the government will exit all business in non-strategic sectors with only a bare minimum presence in only in four broad sectors. So now the government it will not be taking much participation in the sectors which are not strategic, in the sectors which need more money to be put in. So Given that information, it has only four exceptions. So it will be participating in four of the non-strategic sectors. These strategic sectors are atomic energy, space, and defense, transport and telecom, power, petroleum, coal, and other minerals, and banking and financial services. So, uh, the strategic sectors in which the government will be taking participation mainly in this year are given here. In producing atomic energy, space, defense, transport and telecom, power, petroleum, coal, and other minerals. So it will be taking part in all of these in all of these sectors by using the new strategic disinvestment policy. In India's brief but tortuous history of disinvestment since it began listing PSUs on the stock markets through minority stake sales in the 1990s, this is undoubtedly the boldest stance yet. So, in India's tortuous history, in India's unfortunate history, tortuous means in India's complicated history. In India's in India's brief means something that could be said in a short way. So in India's brief but complicated history of disinvestment. Since it began listing PSUs on the stock markets through minority stake sales in 1990s, this is undoubtedly the boldest stance yet. So this stance or the situation or this position in which India is in right now, or the decision which India has taken up right now of implementing the new strategic disinvestment policy is the boldest decision it has ever taken in its history yet. On intent, it goes further than the AB Vajpayee government sales of a dozen odd PSUs from hotels to bread makers. So on intention means on purpose, it goes further than the AB Vajpayee's government. It goes further than the AP Vajpayee's government's sales for a dozen odd PSUs from the hotels to bread makers. So this sentence basically said that India this time has gone for huge extents. It can be no one's case that India's public sector remains at the commanding heights of the economy. So India's public sector. So obviously, like any other country, the public sector is the one which decides the GP which decides the GP the GDP or the economic condition of a country. So that also applies for India, and hence the public sector plays a main role. Hence the public sector plays it plays a main role in combining the heights of the economy. Apart from raising precious revenues, the sale of the closure of such firms will help the exchequer stop throwing good money after bad and funnel it into more productive endeavors. So the public sector, apart from raising endeavors, um, apart from raising precious revenues, apart from raising the economic situation of our GDP and so on. Uh, the sale or closure of such firms will help the exchequer stop throwing good money after the bad and fund it into more productive endeavors.